Hi everyone, Namaste, good evening and welcome to the 10 weeks of Yuktahaar project for the new year 2023. आज का हमारा टॉपिक है about the start of the day. So how do you start your day? What is the first thing that you should have when you wake up? What should be the breakfast be like? What about the quantity? And also about the pre and post workout meal if you are working out in the first half of the day, like basically in the mornings. So let's begin. And before I start this topic, I want to introduce this concept of the dosha of the day, okay, which is there in Ayurveda. And then there's also a concept which is about the following the circadian rhythm and eat accordingly, okay. तो जो भी लोग आयुर्वेदा के बारे में जानते हैं या उसके तरफ रुचि रखते हैं एंड दे जस्ट गो अहेड एंड रीड थिंग्स ऑन गूगल, दे नो कि हमारा जो प्रकृति होता है उसके तीन तरह होते हैं, दोषा जिसको बोलते हैं, विच इज काफा, पित्त एंड वाता, करेक्ट. सो दीज आर द थ्री दोषास विच पीपल समहाउ नो कि ठीक है ये प्रकृति है, ये हमारा इंडिविजुअल पर्सनालिटी या हमारा इंडिविजुअल नेचर है. But in the same way, Ayurveda says that the day is also classified according to the dosha. तो हमारा जो पूरा दिन होता है सबके लिए it is classified according to certain doshas. And जो हम खाते हैं वो the choice of food that we should make and the activities also that we should do should be in resonance with these doshas, correct. Now the circadian rhythm also tells us कि भाई जो हमें खाना है या जैसे हमें रहना है, it should be in accordance to the sun. अगर मान लीजिए कि सन बहुत ब्राइट है तो आप खाना थोड़ा ज्यादा होलसम खाइए. अगर सन उतना ब्राइट नहीं है तो आप खाना का जो आपका मेन्यू है उसका चॉइस जो है वो आपका it should be light foods. It shouldn't be foods which are too dense or too heavy and too wholesome. Okay, now coming to the part where we are, first today we are discussing at least, the first thing that you'll have on rising and then the breakfast. Then understand that up to 10 a.m. क्योंकि हम ये breakfast की बात कर रहे हैं, तो up to 10 a.m. What Ayurveda says is the Kapha dosha of the day. Okay, अभी काफा दोषा का क्या मतलब होता है? काफा दोषा is essentially characterized by heaviness. It is characterized by sluggishness. अगर आप 6 बजे के बाद उठने की कोशिश करते हैं या 7-8 बजे, if you are one of those little late risers, then you know that उठने में बहुत त्रास होता है, बहुत मेहनत लगता है. You just feel like sleeping a little more. That's because the kapha of the day is overpowering you, because kapha makes you feel heavy and sluggish. Okay, that is why in Ayurveda it is suggested that you wake up before sunrise or at the time of sunrise, because उस समय तक काफा अपने पूरे एलिमेंट में आया नहीं होता है. It is still coming, progressing towards that, but it is still not come, in its complete active form. So क्योंकि the morning 10 a.m. तक what we have is the kapha dosha, which in itself is characterized by heaviness and sluggishness. Ayurveda suggests that you should be eating very light foods at this time, because already the dosha is heavy and you don't want to eat heavy foods at this time. Therefore, इस period पे up to 10 a.m. your food should be warm, it should be light and it should be cooked. Okay, now if you go to the circadian rhythm, which is the Western concept, which the whole West is going gaga over it, it's not a Indian concept, but this also coincides with the same thing, because even the West says that eat according to the sun, and we all know that up to 10 a.m. the sun isn't at its brightest, and therefore the choice of food that you make, it should be light. So going by both the sciences, we understand that your first meal on rising should be light. Your breakfast should be warm, light and cooked, correct? That's the reason why Yuktahaar and my book and my program, my entire philosophy says that the first thing that you should have on rising can be a hot herbal tea. There are, I think, around 10 to 12 recipes of hot herbal tea which I have given in my book, which you can choose according to the weather, according to the season, also according to your own individual, conditions. Like for example, there's some herbal tea which I have given for sinus, there's something which I have given for weight loss, there's something which I've given for allergies and so on and so forth. So depending on what you're facing, you can choose the herbal tea, but when you're having herbal tea, you essentially qualify all the conditions, which is it's warm, it's light, and it's cooked. Once you enter phase 3, you can even start your day like the first thing on rising. You can have milk once you get on phase 3, because again warm milk, because it would be warm, it would be light, and it would be cooked. Okay, now so just understand these 3 things: warm, light, and cooked. And when you take notice of that, when you understand that this is how you should be eating, you will very easily understand why you should not start your day with a fruit, especially with the banana or any fruit for that matter. Ayurveda में fruit को warm नहीं मानते हैं. Fruit is a cooling food, and it's not considered light. Maybe it sounds contrary to a Western concept where we are told that fruit तो बहुत light होता है, fruit तो बहुत light होता है. But no, Ayurveda doesn't consider fruit a light food, and it's not cooked. Right, especially a banana, because banana is something that's known as for its mucus and its slimy guna. Right, so आपने सुना होगा कि आपकी नानी दादी बोलती है कि अगर सर्दी खांसी है तो बनाना मत खाओ, because if you already have a productive cough, जिसका मतलब है अगर आपको already mucus वाला cough है, then banana is going to aggravate, because banana has that mucus element to it, which definitely should not be eaten in the kapha period of the day, because kapha itself is characterized by mucus, heaviness, sluggishness, etc. The same reason why you shouldn't start your day with the laddu or things like dates. I get so many questions about dates. Dates is not something which is very suited to people living in India because of climate. You can have it if you have, say, anemia, iron deficiency, if you're malnourished, in the sense if you're underweight and stuff. But even then, you should not be having dates as the first thing, or anything up to 10 a.m. because of the reasons I explained. Laddu also falls into the same category. Shouldn't be having, because it's not light. It's not something that you should have in the kapha period of the day. Then again, tea and coffee. Tea and coffee is again something that you would not want to start your day with. Of course, you can have it little later. It's not कि आपको 10 a.m. के बाद ही tea coffee लेना है. It's just that you don't start your day with a stimulant. So of course, you can have your tea and coffee as the second and third meal of the day, but not as the first meal of the day. But yes, of course, you can take it before 10 a.m. That's completely fine. So this is the thing about the first meal on rising, what you're going to have and what you're not going to have, and the reasons. Now let us go to the breakfast. Breakfast, as again I said, up to 10 a.m. is the time when you should be having food which is warm, light, and cooked, which means that of course you should not ideally be having pav bhaji, chola bhatura, chana puri, all those parathas, mulika parathas, and all theplas and all those foods for breakfast. You can have them for lunch, but not for breakfast, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to demonize these foods, and I'm not trying to say that these are bad foods, but it's just we're talking about the correct food and the correct time of the day right now. So please, this should not be misunderstood in any other way. So the foods for breakfast, people who have read Yuktahaar know it's all about the correct food for breakfast is about having porridges, kanji, khichdi, because these are warm, these are cooked, these are light meals. And of course, smoothies are also options for people who are rushed for time and who don't want to cook or who live abroad. So these are the options that you can have for breakfast. Now about the quantity. So a lot of times I have been asked ki bhai, you never talk about quantity, you have not mentioned it in your book. So let me tell you that there is no author in this world, and there is no person in this world, not even any professional, who can really tell you how much you should eat. Ideally, nobody should be telling you how much you should eat. Right? How much you should eat is a function of your hunger. That is number one thing. The number two thing, because we are specifically talking about breakfast today, what I also would like to explain is about the second dosha of the day, which is the Pitta dosha, which starts from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So up to 10 a.m. is the Kapha dosha, which is characterized by heaviness, sluggishness. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. is the Pitta dosha. This is the Ayurvedic clock that I'm talking about. The beauty of it is it resonates with the very modern Western concept of circadian rhythm. Now the Pitta dosha, which is 10 a.m. to 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. is the time when Ayurveda says you should be eating your most dense, heavy, wholesome meal, because it's the fire time. Pitta is basically fire. So you have a lot of digestive fire at this time, which simply means that you have great digestion, you have great metabolism at this time. So you should be eating a heavy, nice, wholesome meal at this time, right? If you go by the circadian rhythm diet, says the same thing. The sun is shining its brightest at around 11, 12, 1, and that's why you should be eating your most wholesome meal at this time, which means simply that lunch should be the most wholesome meal of your day. Now that becomes a reality only when you eat a lighter breakfast. So a lot of times I'm asked कि पर आप बता नहीं रहे हो कितना खाना है. So it's a very simple thing. Eat that much for breakfast कि आपका भूख जो है वो satisfy होना चाहिए. You should be able to feel satisfied. It's not that you have to stay hungry, right, in breakfast or any time before 10 a.m. At the same time, do not overeat and stuff yourself so much that you're not able to eat a substantial meal for lunch, right? आपके ऑफिस में there's a staff who works brilliantly, working efficiency suddenly rises between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Would you overburden that staff with work before 10 a.m. or you would just kind of give him or her light work before 10 a.m. and rather utilize his efficiency, his productivity at the time when he's naturally most effective and give him more work at that time? So that's very commonsensical thing to do. Eat substantial during lunch becomes a possibility when you eat light for breakfast, right? Now, when I say eat light for breakfast, it can mean different things for different people. There are a lot of people who write to me saying that, oh, we don't feel hungry for breakfast at all. We don't feel hungry for breakfast at all. So can we just skip breakfast? No, you can't skip breakfast, because the sciences, both Western and traditional science that I mentioned, do not say that you starve or you stay hungry or you fast in the breakfast time. It only says that you eat light in your breakfast and the first meal that you have once you rise up. It doesn't say that you skip it. The downside of skipping your breakfast is that you will lose in touch with your hunger signals. Your metabolism, for a person who is not feeling hungry for breakfast, probably the metabolism is not clearly great. And you don't want to build this habit of skipping your breakfast every day, because then your metabolism will never get corrected. So if you don't feel hungry for breakfast, of course, as I always say, honor your hunger. So I'm not asking you to, force yourself to eat breakfast. At the same time, don't skip it. What you can do is choose the lightest meal that is there. Like if you're a Gujarati, maybe a very light khichu or a smoothie. So choose the very lightest meal that is there and eat a very less amount, but don't skip it entirely. Okay, so that is what I will say for a person who feels that I'm not hungry for breakfast. The second thing is, a lot of people say, oh, I am very famished in the morning time, in the breakfast time, and I can as well eat a substantial lunch also. So if you are somebody with a great metabolism, such a person ideally would not be a person who would be wanting to lose weight also, right? It would be probably a teenager, probably a person who's an athlete, who is doing a lot of work in the morning. One of those people would be such kind of a people. But then again, what I'm just trying to give you an example is of two extremes. If you do feel that you can digest something like a great dense thicker porridge, then go for a thicker porridge, and the quantity will be dependent on your hunger. If you feel that you're really hungry at the breakfast time, and in spite of eating like a good quantity of a thick porridge, you still feel hungry for a good substantial lunch, that also at a good time, which is 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., then yes, go ahead with it. right? So there is no person in this world, I'm not there to see how much hunger you have, because even that can keep changing every single day. So it's really not possible for me to tell you कि आपको इतना खाना चाहिए या आपको उतना खाना चाहिए. Go by your hunger. If you are less hungry, choose the lighter meals. For example, make a thinner porridge. If you're a person who doesn't feel hungry for breakfast, make an extremely thinner porridge, a thinner consistency. If you're a person who feels that I'm famished and I'm up for a good meal for breakfast, go for a thicker porridge and a denser porridge. The quantities will vary depending on your hunger. But this cannot change that your lunch should be the substantial meal of the day. So, eat your breakfast in a way that you are preparing your body and your hunger and your metabolism for a good wholesome lunch, not only just in terms of wholesomeness but also at a good time. A lot of people जिन्हें बोला जाता है that you have parathas for breakfast, or you have sandwich, or you have idli, dosa, pav bhaji, ये सारी चीजें अगर आप ब्रेकफास्ट में बोला जाता है खाने, and then they end up eating that, they are so stuffed with that breakfast itself that they do not feel hungry for a long time for lunch. So even if you feel that I am hungry for lunch, for a good wholesome lunch, but you're feeling that hunger at 3 p.m., it's not working. We want you to feel hungry between 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. because that is the Pitta dosha. That is the time that we want to exploit. That is the time when we want you to eat the biggest meal. So that becomes a possibility only when you eat a light breakfast. Quantity would depend on your hunger levels, on your metabolism on that particular day. Now, talking about your pre-workout and post-workout meals, then if suppose you're working out first thing in the morning, then what you can do is, again, it depends on what kind of workout you're doing. Again, it's been like, fed into us that if you're working out, there should be a pre-workout. You should be like kind of feeding yourself, lots of things because you're going there to work out. Honestly, it really depends on what kind of workout you're doing, right? So if you are a person who is just starting to work out, and it's just not about starting to work out, but if you're a person who is just working out at 50% of your intensity, right, 50% of your capacity, आप उतना ही वर्कआउट कर रहे हैं, then you can just go for your hot herbal drink, which has been explained in my book, and you can just go for a workout. You really do not need any pre-workout food specially, right? You would need a pre-workout food specially if you're really working out at a respectable intensity, which could be like 80 to 90% of your maximum capacity. So if you're really working out at an intensity where you need a pre-workout food, then what you can do is you start your day with your herbal tea. You can have, after the herbal tea, you can have soaked almonds and soaked raisins. So these are two things that you can have, and then you can go and work out. And once you're back from your workout, then you can have your breakfast, which itself would serve as a post-workout meal. If you are somebody who is working out after breakfast, then because we are anyways keeping the breakfast relatively lighter for you, you can just keep a 60 minutes gap between your breakfast and your workout, and that your breakfast itself becomes like a pre-workout meal in that situation. And once you're back from your workout, then you can either have your post-workout smoothie, which again the recipe is there in the book, or you can straight away head for the lunch according to the time of the day, depending on what time you finish up. So this is what I will say about the breakfast. Just to summarize, up to 10 a.m. is the Kapha dosha time of the day. It's also the time according to circadian rhythm when you should be eating light. According to Ayurveda, you should be eating warm, light and cooked food. Therefore, the first meal on rising should be the hot herbal teas, recipes mentioned in the book. Or it could be even warm milk once you step on to phase 3. The things that you should not have is fruits, banana, laddu, dates, tea, coffee. These are the things that you should not start your day with. Breakfast again should not be meals which are heavy, which are very wholesome. You can have lighter meals like porridges, kanji, khichdi, smoothies. Quantity, let your hunger decide how much of the quantity of breakfast you should be having. Ensure that you are able to satisfy your hunger. At the same time, do not stuff yourself in a way that you feel too stuffed and too full for lunch, because we do not want to miss that opportunity to have a wholesome meal for lunch, because that is how you should be eating. Okay, so I'll just take one or two questions before I leave. There's somebody who's asking, please suggest Daru Haldi and Chitraka in tablet form brands. So I'll repeat myself. I did the first live about the herbal supplements, so I'll suggest Chalks and Bites, who has asked this question, that please go. All the videos are already there on our page, so please go and check that video. But just to answer your question, all the recommended brands are there on our website. The website is by my name, munmunganeriwal.com. You go there and you go on the book section. On the book section, you will find the recommended brands. Having said that, I do not approve of tablets when it comes to the Yuktahaar supplements. What I suggest is having them in the powder form, because that is the way that they are most effective. Okay, so yeah, so if there are any questions, then I will be posting this video, as you know, down there, and you can always ask more questions. Also, for people who would like to fill up the form, the participants of this project who have been consistently filling up the form link is there in the Instagram story. It's also there on our Instagram bio. So please jaiye, form bhariye, and let me know about how you're progressing and your feedbacks and how you're feeling, so that we stay in touch. Thank you.